The podcast Welcome to My Studio is celebrating its first anniversary. And for this special episode, I wanted to revisit the reasons behind its creation. While in the first episodes I discussed my artistic approach in parallel with art history, I never really explained why I had followed this path. That's exactly what we are going to explore in this episode. Greeting everyone and a warm welcome to my studio. I'm Alix Morel, a painter and printmaker artist. And in this podcast, we are going to delve deep into the world of art. I'll be sharing my artistic techniques, my sources of inspiration, and occasionally those moments of uncertainty that come with the creative process. Put on your apron and let's get started. So, why did I create this podcast? Let me take you back a few years ago to the time of my first exhibitions. I spent a lot of time writing text and creating information sheets for visitors in an attempt to explain my artistic approach to them. At the time, I was working extensively on portraiture with the intention of exploring themes of self-reflections, introspection, and questions of identity. I believe that these information sheets will allow me to explain my work in depth and help others understand it better. However, I quickly realized that most visitors weren't reading these materials. In fact, I noticed that it was better for them to look at my works rather than read a text for which they didn't necessarily have all the context needed to fully understand my artistic process. So I changed my approach and started spending more time with visitors, especially during the opening receptions. Even though this approach might seem obvious and straightforward when I say it like this, I must admit that it wasn't easy. In fact, I don't like putting myself forward, and I find it difficult to talk about myself. It's really challenging to step aside from your own work and explain your approach and artistic process. So, I had to work on myself to be able to approach visitors at my exhibitions. As I refined my speech and the way I presented my work, I also realized how difficult it is to provide concrete examples to explain and support an artistic approach. Ultimately, it's history that provides us with the best examples, and in any case, that's how art works. All artists draw on inspiration from the past to create. And I should mention that I hold degrees in both fine arts and art history, which is also why I rely on this discipline to present my work. It's not that I claim to place myself directly in the lineage of the great artists of the past, but, as I mentioned, art history allows me to provide concrete and precise examples to help explain my creative research. This is why I began this series of episodes on the theme of plein air painting. It's a practice that is close to my heart and one that references to the tradition of the Impressionist artists who are known worldwide. So I found it meaningful to start with the history of plein air painting to present my work. The 19th century artists desired to capture impressions on canvas, offer a truly expressive and vivid discourse, one that involves notions of color, composition, and the impressions they leave on the viewer. By citing specific artists or movements, I can effectively illustrate abstract concepts or the methods that I use. And if you are interested in this topic, I invite you to check out that episode, which was actually the first one I recorded. Furthermore, I believe that relying on the past provides a general context that is more meaningful. For example, in the previous episode where I discussed my work in screen printing, I gave a brief historical overview on the tradition of printer in Venice. I found it interesting to provide a historical perspective on the artistic process of creation through printing. To be honest, there was also something related to music when talking about the history of the printed scores. Music is my second great passion alongside visual creation, and I enjoyed indirectly linking these two disciplines. And I'll be recording an episode on this topic in the coming weeks, so stay tuned. By referring to the history of art, I can place my work within a broader artistic tradition. I think this helps in understanding the influences that shape my creativity. It shows how my work is part of an ongoing dialogue within the art world. Here is another example. In the episode dedicated to series in art, I discuss my own artistic practice. It's very difficult to explain the development of a theme through a series because it involves multiple facets inherent to creation, including technical aspects. That's why, in the 5th episode dedicated to series in art, I drew on artists who have left a mark in history, such as Rembrandt, Van Gogh, and Picasso. Their approaches have been well documented by history, and we are familiar with many of their works, which help us understand the concept of series. Once again, I don't claim to place myself directly in the lineage of this great artist, but I wanted to illustrate my point by referring to art history. I think discussing the history of art serves as a powerful tool to explain and illustrate my creative process because it provides context, inspiration, and a deeper understanding of the artistic journey. Continuing with this line of thought, I realized that a podcast will be the ideal medium to share my work. It offers a unique opportunity to reach beyond the confines of a gallery space and connect with art amateurs and professionals. Unlike the brief encounters at exhibitions, a podcast allows for in-depth discussions and the freedom to explore complex ideas over time. I think this format offers a richer, more layered exploration of the creative process, where you can tune in at your own pace, revisit concepts, and develop a deeper understanding of how art is made and interpreted. Moreover, a podcast can break down barriers, both geographical and intellectual, inviting listeners from diverse backgrounds to join the conversation, ask questions, and see the creative process through multiple perspectives. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your feedback, questions, and compliments on my work. Please feel free to keep them going. In a nutshell, I wanted to explain why I created this podcast, what my approach is, and what I hope to share with you. I hope I'm succeeding in conveying my vision of creation and the artistic process through the lens of art history. I'm just one item among many artists, and I believe you'll find similarities with the artistic approaches of others. This is how art history is created and renewed. I hope you have enjoyed this podcast and that it has provided a fresh perspective on contemporary creation and the history of art. Please leave your comment below, and if you'd like to explore my work, let's connect on Instagram at alixmorel_artist or visit my website alixmorel.com. See you soon, and in the next episode, I'll be just returning from a trip to Naples, Pompeii, and the Vesuvius region. Besides the historical and archaeological aspects that fascinate me, I'll be taking the opportunity to collect ornamental patterns, sketches, and watercolor of the ancient city and the capital of Campania. I share my latest impressions with you in the next episode.